All right, let's bring in my panel for tonight. Sky News contributor, former Howard Government Minister Gary Hargreaves and LNP MP Keith Pitt. Well, gentlemen, it's a Monday. I'm always delighted to have your company. Keith, this EV car issue collision course, we're headed on this one. More information out today. SUVs, popular utes, all the stuff we want to drive could cost us up to $25,000 more per vehicle within 5 years. Even hybrids, they say, could be hit with a $5,000 price hike. Now, this is an attempt, isn't it, to force us into what we don't want to buy with our own money?
Well, that's exactly right, Peter. Once again, it's all about how much things will cost, and Anthony Albanese and Chris Bowen simply don't care. I mean, a Toyota Landcruiser now is about $120,000, roughly the GXL, the standard model. Takes about a year to get one, if you can secure one. And now not only will it cost potentially 20 grand more, if they sell too many, they can't sell any more because they'll breach the cap. I mean, for those of us that live in the regions, this is an essential part of life, essential part of work. Battery cars just don't work for them at all. I mean, we checked some numbers the other day. Cole Boyce's electorate in Emerald, they've got about 25,000 registered vehicles there. Guess how many EVs in Emerald are registered right now? It's a duck egg. 0. Not a single one.
Yeah, I'm just doing the mental maths. My sister and her husband run a dairy farm down near Warrnambool, and I don't think, I'm going through all the cars around the property, I don't think there's anything other than a sort of Toyota truck-like SUV. I mean, this is where people are going to be hit really hard. Gary, Woolies, a back down of sorts or an admission of sorts, as CEO Brad Banducci has told the Financial Review today. The customers, surprise, surprise, to the CEO of a supermarket, they want value. They don't want broader conversations, meaning this is him finally fessing up that the Australia Day debacle, well, let's hope it's an end to virtue signalling.
Let me tell you, I think a lot of people want him gone more than anything else because there's a lot of people not going to forgive Woolworths for where they've been over the last couple of months. You know, and my first job was packing groceries at Woolworths at Mount Gravatt almost 50 years ago as a teenager, pocket money that I earned there. So my family has been a Woolworths family for generations. Guess what? Not 1 cent of our family's money has been spent in a Woolworths store ever since Banducci's brain implosion with this whole rubbish about Australia Day. So I think a lot of people are really fed up to the back teeth with all of this. Peter, this is a store that used to fly the Australian flag as part of its logo. You know, it's 100 years old this year, Woolworths, as a company. And the 4 founding people who founded the store in George Street in Sydney, and the second store, by the way, was Queen Street in Brisbane, you know, they would be rolling in their collective graves over the way this bloke has destroyed this company. I'm finding Coles and IGA and Aldi, you know, pretty good, actually. So Banducci's got a problem. The board's got a bigger problem. I think he's in trouble. He's got to go.
Look, I'm with you. Woolies was my favourite too, and I haven't set foot in there ever since that whole Australia Day debacle, and I don't suspect we're the only ones. Keith, let's go to Victoria. The government down there is hitting people pretty hard with a massive spike in land taxes, property taxes, stamp duty, etc. But we learned today at least 28 foreign-owned businesses have got an exemption from paying the stamp duty that every other taxpayer that lives in Victoria has to pay. The government says this is taxpayer confidentiality. We can't tell you who they are, but surely they're foreign companies. Well, we've got a right to know.
Well, Peter, the word of the year last year was clearly transparency. This is what the Teal party used to get themselves elected. And now we find in Victoria, they won't tell you who's getting an exemption. So let's just picture this, and this is completely assumption. It's not based on anything at all. Imagine if those companies are all registered to potentially one individual, or they come from one country, and they're getting a significant advantage over others. I think that the Victorian government's got a real problem here. This is something they'll have to deal with. Because there is real potential here for conduct of the type that none of us want to see. Now, there may be nothing to see here whatsoever, but I think this is a real problem, and we know what's happened in Victoria previously, Peter, and we don't want to see that type of behaviour inside of governments.
Given how much the former Premier loves China, I'll be interested to know the nationality of some of those countries. But anyway, Gary, the Institute of Public Affairs, they have found that a majority of the VCE English reading list, this is the books that our kids learn in Year 11 and Year 12, are woke books. And the way the whole course is structured, you've got to do at least 2 of the woke books. The IPA found 19 of 36 texts, so 53% can be considered woke, and they push ideologies like critical race theory, decolonisation or gender theory, and only 6 are part of the Western canon. So the historical books that have made the West what it is. Why on earth are we doing this to ourselves yet again?
Well, I think we can save Australia one family at a time, but I think it's important parents actually, if the schools won't offer it, give their kids the chance to have a look at what we used to call the classics. And you're right, Peter, it's delivered where we've got to now in the world, but now we have this deliberate, systemic and systematic destruction of Western culture. Apparently we're all bad. Anybody who looks like me, well, we should just be rounded up on suspicion. Pale, male and stale. You know, we are bad people. We've apparently done nothing of any great consequence. But you resemble it as well, Keith. But, you know, in the end, Peter, what we have to do is save Australia one family at a time. The school system is broken. People are walking out. In Queensland, I see now the numbers of people leaving state government schools, going to the Catholic and independent schools, means that there's been a 5,000 person reduction in the projected numbers of schools in Queensland. That's just another statistic. So people are voting with their feet and getting their kids out, trying to save their kids because they're being made to feel bad about the stuff that's actually delivered the country they live in. And no one's batted an eyelid about Captain Cook getting hacked up in Yarra Council in Melbourne. I don't know, why is that council still in existence? Sack them, get rid of them, fix this stuff up. We've got to know our history or we're doomed to repeat it.
Listen to you two, pale, stale males thinking you're an endangered species. Try and be a conservative female. I reckon we are far more scarce on the ground. Anyway, hey, I've got to ask you this, Keith, the Prime Minister, this whole right to disconnect, we thought it was only for workers, but clearly the Prime Minister, even when he's supposed to be at work last Friday, couldn't answer the mobile phone to find out a boat up the north is there.
Peter, it's just ridiculous. The Labor government is now regulating every phone call between an employer and an employee. My 80-year-old father, almost 80, rang me last week and says, does this mean I can't ring the workforce to say don't show up in the morning because it's rained or the mill's broken down or we haven't got bins and we can't start till later and, in fact, take your kids to school?
Yeah.
This is just, it's madness, over the top.
It is madness. Got to leave it there, gents. Thanks, as always. See you next week.